to Sometimes There's Side Eye, a podcast about two friends having real and unfiltered conversations about dogs and people. Listen as we talk about our lives with dogs, training, behavior, share some laughs, and a whole lot of banter. I'm Heather,
And I'm Christy.
and we have a special guest to talk with us about traveling with dogs, which I'm super excited about.
Yeah, today we have Tara McKinney with us, who is a fantastic foster, a savvy social media presence, an awesome advocate, fierce fundraiser, and honestly, just an all around champion for senior dogs. We are so excited to have you here, Tara.
Yay! Welcome, Tara.
Thank you so much
Yay.
for having me. I'm very excited. This just happens to be my favorite subject, and thank you so much for inviting me on. So, traveling with dogs has kind of evolved from other things I was into. For 12 years, I have been fostering dogs, and I would say about 8 years ago, that kind of turned into still fostering, but adopting a lot of senior dogs. And our household since then has typically had right around 7 senior dogs. And of course, they're older. So it's a bit of a rotating crew. Lots of different personalities, lots of different needs. And it can make traveling so fun and a little tricky too. So I'm excited to share all of my little tricks and hints and ideas for traveling. I've had to solve a lot of different problems on the road. So I am so excited to share. But yes, currently we do have 7, and we do have one young one right now, 5. Everyone else is over the age of 11.
Wow, that's
Yep.
awesome. And most of them are big dogs or at least medium-sized dogs, right?
Yeah, in
Yeah.
between 50 and 75 pounds. And we do have one little right now, maybe 20 pounds. Chi.
A little Chi-Chi.
A Chi
Nice.
Chi.
Got to keep it interesting.
And a
Somebody's got to be
little,
the boss. It's going to be the small dog, right?
exactly.
That's awesome.
The cool thing is Heather and I know Tara through rescue. Also, little side note, I was following Tara on social media before I ever met her in person. So I remember Tara back when you only had Wally, your best friend, just one dog and only fostered. And so I've watched that progression. And then I got to meet you in person, and you were as cool in person as on social media. Even cooler, I would say.
Funny
It's hard to
Oh,
believe, but it's true.
I'm blushing.
You know what's really funny is that I met Tara in person because of COVID. That's
Oh,
weird and
Yep.
right.
odd. You were having outside sort of bonfires to let everybody social distance on your property and still have a little connection with fellow canine people. And I
Yeah.
went to one of your bonfires, and that's where we met in person for the first time. So that's a
And that
really
was a
interesting.
beautiful thing I think that we all needed, actually.
Yes,
Love
yes.
that.
Definitely. I loved it
Yeah.
too. I want to hear about you traveling with dogs. So,
Yes. And I have to say also, Heather just found out this last weekend when we traveled with our own dogs that my dog had never been in a hotel until
travesty,
last weekend.
travesty.
So I knew I was not the person to present this information, but I did know I was like, a travel episode would be so fun. I'm clearly not that person because at 12 years old, she went to her first hotel.
Oh yeah, yeah. And listen, I was a little slow on, getting around to doing all the traveling as well. I've always been a traveler, but I can tell you exactly when I went overboard with it, maybe when I went off the deep end into traveling with dogs. There's a little story behind it. It was 2015 in December when we adopted our first 2 senior dogs. They were a bonded pair. Later, I would say later that year, but it was the end of 2015. So I need to say 2016, we adopted senior, like a dog named Grandpa. He came with that name,
No,
if you can
grandpa.
imagine. We picked him up and he looked ratchet. He looked like he probably wouldn't be with us very long. He stunk to high heaven. We just didn't think he was going to be with us for very long at all. We got him some medical care, some dental care, and he started to come to life. His allergies got better. We started treating him for valley fever, and really, he came with this big personality punch. And when I say his personality was like you palpable in a room, let me explain. I would take him to the vet, and the girls behind the desk, you would maybe think you might get this for a puppy, but the girls behind the desk would start screaming as if Justin Bieber had walked in and
Oh,
holding their chest like we were like it was an incredible thing to watch, a really fun thing to watch, but I felt it. You could feel his energy. He had swag, but I still babied him a little bit. And I thought, oh, there's no way grandpa can do this. There's no way grandpa could do that. Well, grandpa went ahead and got very sick to the point where I thought this might be our goodbye. And it just happened to be the same week that I had to drive to San Diego for a family member's wedding. And I just thought, what am I going to do here? My solution ended up being have someone stay at our house with the rest of the dogs. And I would take grandpa with me. That way, if anything was going down, I was right there by his side. I would take him to a vet there. I got that all set up. I got a dog friendly Airbnb instead of staying with family. I did have to take him to the vet one time while we were there. He got some nausea medication. And eventually I thought, I'm going to take him to the beach to get a little air. This dog, now I'm convinced he was trying to fake his own death because he came to life. He is trotting down the beach. He doesn't hear me say his name anymore. He has his chin up. He has his flipper paws flapping. Everybody's turning their head looking at this guy. Like the crust melted off of his nose. It was like the fountain of
oh,
youth. And I could barely get him off that beach. And that very day, I told my husband, I don't care if I have to leave town without you or what it takes. I am going to get this dog back to the beach as much as I possibly can until his last day here. And that's exactly what I did. And I was at that beach with the dog, like I would say once or twice a month for the next year and a half until he actually did pass.
wow.
And not his very last day, but his second to last day, he was on the beach.
That's
And
awesome.
I like the things that this dog could do all of a sudden was what inspired me to start testing the waters with all of my dogs and not assume that they just needed to be coddled inside of the house. And that was when really I feel like my whole life changed and theirs. I feel like I'm a better senior dog parent or, guardian or whatever you would like to call it, because that's what we do. We just, we run until we can't run anymore. But I definitely take on some things that are borderline insane just to get my dogs to wherever they need to be. Having ones with sometimes special needs, as in dog reactivity. So I have to get really creative on where I'm going to go so they actually have a good time. And I'm not just doing this for me. I want to be traveling for my dogs, catering to them, not pressuring them to do things and pushing them to do things where they're uncomfortable. So it takes some research,
little creativity, little
yeah,
research.
little creativity,
Research, yeah.
Mhm.
I
Sure.
have definitely seen the years come away from a senior dog that you adopt, and it is such an amazing experience to see them get younger every day that they're with
Yeah.
you. It's such a cool experience to be a part of, and it fills your heart differently.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's very much a different feeling, but like the best feeling.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
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 And so you started with one dog traveling, and what's the most dogs you've taken in one trip?
7.
7.
7. Okay.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, of course. Why not?
Oh yeah.
So casually. 7.
7.
What's
So
that
there was
look
like a little bit of, there's a little special stuff you have to do with 7. And unless you're going to stay at your Airbnb all day, you need to account for all of the different personalities and all of the different needs. I don't prefer to leave dogs alone at Airbnbs if I can help it, but
Mhm.
definitely not like a large portion of that size of a crew.
Mhm.
So what I have done in the past that has worked out really well for me is I scope out local rover dog sitters, and I feel pretty comfortable leaving the dogs with a rover sitter because what I'm doing is very different than leaving for like a week or two and leaving my dogs behind. I'm right there.
Mhm.
I'm just letting them know, hey, I'm going to be coming in and out, and I'm going to be switching out dogs all day. So these two can go to the beach with me. These two are good at a restaurant. These two would love to take a walk in this park. This one's going to need a wagon. So we'll do him, that kind of thing. So I'm in constant communication with them all day. They have been easy to book and fairly affordable considering what boarding costs. My dogs have loved it, and it allows me to take everyone and have everyone be there safe, but they all get their little pieces of adventure while we're somewhere new.
That is genius.
I know, it's such a creative
Like,
solution.
I
it's so straightforward, and yet I'm like, man, I would
Yeah,
have never thought of that.
Nope,
yeah,
it makes complete sense. And
yeah,
also the dogs get the experience of hanging out with someone else. So that's
yeah, which
enrichment
they
too.
also love. Yeah,
Yeah.
they don't have separation anxiety. They have FOMO. So as long as they're there and they're getting some kind of new experience, whether that be going in the car with us to the beach or hanging out with a new person at the Airbnb, they're fine. They don't care about anything except missing out.
And then you're also because most Airbnbs, even the ones that accept dogs, they don't want you just to leave a bunch of dogs behind.
Yeah, they don't.
If I ever, because I stay at Airbnbs with my dogs as well, and if I'm in a situation, I always make sure it's okay if I leave them behind and they're crated. And that would be
Mhm,
like if I go to dinner or something like
mhm,
that. But in general, we want to follow whatever the Airbnb rules are. So I love that creative
yeah.
solution.
And in some counties, believe it or not, there's actually renter laws. And I believe this might be around here, maybe a California thing. But for example, my last trip, we stopped up into Sonoma County.
Mhm.
Sonoma County actually has a law that renters are not allowed to leave their animals in Airbnbs at all.
Really?
Alone.
Oh.
Yeah. Indoor or outdoor. And I think what it comes down to is using your common sense. Did I
Mhm.
leave my dog in the Airbnb alone for a little while? I did because I had four with me. The rule exists to keep neighbors happy.
Mhm.
And
Sure.
so as long as you are pretty confident or you have maybe a ring camera and you're close by and you can spy on your dog and make sure there's not a bunch of noise, and that's why the rules there. And I
Yeah.
am a little bit of a rule bender, but what I like to do is think about what they're asking you to do, and are you able to bend the rule but still get the end goal?
Mhm.
They don't want to upset the neighbors. That's all there is to that
Yeah.
one.
And to be honest, because I have traveled with my Rottweiler since he was a puppy all over everywhere, you're not even supposed to leave your dog behind in a hotel room. So
Mhm.
technically, that's a rule too. And like in my case with Tiago, he's excellent in a hotel. He grew up going to hotels. He's great in a crate. So yeah, I'll leave him behind in a hotel room, but I'll turn on the TV, make sure the outside noise is cut off as much as possible. And I know he's not being loud and, making noise. My
Yeah.
bulldog, maybe not as often would I do that because, well, bulldog. But yeah, I think that makes sense. And we want to be respectful of the places that we're visiting.
Yeah, for sure. Because if we really truly love traveling with our dogs, we want other people to also travel with their dogs.
Yeah,
We don't want to do anything to upset a host enough that they would make it not possible for the next person. That's just
absolutely.
respect there. Another way that I've kind of gotten around that as well, instead of hiring a rover sitter, sometimes I just invite other people to come. A lot of times when I'm asking for a dog friendly Airbnb, and when I say dog friendly, I mean they can't have a fee for every single dog. I will never be able to afford it. They can't have any breed restriction, and they can't have a number, right? So
Mhm.
they'll say dog friendly and they don't give any other specifics. I don't ask permission for seven. I just say, like, okay, well, me and my pack of dogs are traveling, and hope they don't say anything. And if they don't, then we're there. Usually, those houses or townhomes or whatever it is, they're usually bigger than what I need.
Mhm.
So I usually end up with a room I'm just shutting off and not using. So in those scenarios, I ask around, hey, do you want a free vacation? All you have to do is these couple times, I did this for a wedding. I said, oh, would you like to hang out in Long Beach for 4 days free of charge? I'll even drive you there. All you have to do is make sure my dogs don't do anything stupid for like these 4 hours. Well, hell yeah. Yep. And it's a bonus for everybody. So there's a couple ways to get around it for sure.
I
That's
like it.
great. And so what's the longest you've traveled with your dogs, like distance wise and time wise?
Well, 2 weeks is time
Okay.
wise, and distance wise would be pretty much to the Canadian border.
Mm.
There is a national park up there, and now, of course, I don't remember what it's called, but it is in Washington, and it's one of the very least traveled national parks in the US, but beautiful. And the reason I went there was because I had my dog, reactive dog, with me. So I went
Yeah.
to the least visited national park on a Monday, and I'm gonna tell you what, we had a great time. We got
That's
to do all
awesome.
the things.
That sounds like magic.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
that's a 24-hour drive to get there. We've also been way down to like Corpus Christi, Padre Island, Texas, which is a very long drive as well. But that drive was technically shorter, but that one I had 7 dogs. The 24-hour drive, I had 3 very capable dogs. So it seemed shorter.
Perspective, yes.
Yeah.
Also, when you drive across Texas, it takes forever. So I feel
Oh,
like that,
yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Nothing ever changes.
What
Exactly.
prep do you do for taking your reactive dog? So I know you said that you do some research. So what kind of research do you do?
So I do my best. You can't prepare for everything, but I
Yeah.
just try to find isolated places. And then sometimes I stay near them, and sometimes I drive to them, and there's a few people and a few dogs, and we just turn around and go back and try again later. Honestly, sometimes it's a little bit like that. You might think you're going to go and do something, and you're not going to go and do something. And
Yeah.
it's not that I can't control my dog that is reactive. The problem is I want this to be a good experience for him. And once he sees a dog, and of course he lives with 7 as well. So we're not talking dog reactive in the home. I'm talking out and about. If he sees one in the car, he sees one on a leash, he immediately starts to have this like very anxious stance, panting, whining, and it only gets worse and worse. So if he sees a couple dogs in the beginning of an outing, it's going to take a very long time for him to chill out,
Mm.
and he's not having fun, and that's not the point. So I have not taken him on a million trips, but the ones I've taken him on, sometimes we are doing some circles and some dipping in here and there, and I'm running out of the car and scoping, are we good here?
I love that you just honor who he is instead of trying to be like, okay, we're going to make this work because I drove 24
Yeah.
hours.
Yeah, well, I did that when I was younger with him.
Yeah.
He is the OG dog. He's the dog that has been with me for 12 years, the only one. So I did try that. I tried to do that when I was younger, and I regret that now, honestly. He never did change. We, of course, did every training in the world. I would have loved for him to go to every restaurant and every, thing with me, but it's not him. So
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
so much more of a relaxing relationship now that I stopped trying to force him to do things that he does not like.
Which is what we are going for. Yeah. With our
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah. Just stop.
Yeah.
Just stop. I think
Yeah.
that's a lot, actually, just like not to do with travels, but just to do with dogs in general. I think my best piece of advice would be meet your dog where they're at, and your relationship will be better. Yeah.
Absolutely. When you are traveling, what's your normal kind of routine for
Okay. Now
getting?
here's where I did make a small list because, I did not want to forget this. I mean, it's complicated. I think about this
Yeah.
for days. And as each day that goes by, I'm checking off what I've done on a whiteboard, making sure I didn't screw anything up. Okay. So the boring stuff, but important, because you don't want to end up in a worst case scenario, which in my mind would be your dog is missing and you're not even in your own state or town. You have a medical emergency and you have not prepared at all. Or you have, because we live in Arizona, car trouble in the heat. And I
Oh,
try
yeah.
to, of course, avoid driving in when it's 120 degrees out with dogs in the car, but we have a decently long summer here. It is extremely hot until you're talking, it's hot until 5 hours. and you're trying to escape the heat with your dogs to give them a break. So we do, of course, do it, but it terrifies me. Here's what I have for all those things, which I think is kind of common sense, but also maybe there's a couple I have in there that might get you. Update your dog's vaccinations before you go, and update their tags and their microchips, and make sure that they have a secure collar on. I did lose one of my dogs on one of my trips, and I never really told anybody about it. And I don't hide anything. Just was like, we were in the middle of traveling and I was busy doing 1,000 other things, and I didn't feel like I needed to go and tell everybody that Bubs ran away. We had an Airbnb up in Arrowhead Lake, and we do a Halloween themed or like a horror themed photo shoot every year with all the dogs. And we got this Airbnb that had a enclosed yard, but it was enclosed, I would say, for the big dogs. But Bubs is our 20-pounder, and he was fairly new to us. He sticks around. I guess the door was left ajar, the sliding door, just the tiniest bit for some air to come through. And I don't know why, but I woke up at midnight, and I thought the last thing that had happened was he had tried to get on the bed with us, and I told him he couldn't. And I think at that moment he must have packed his bags and started trotting down the street like, okay, if
I will
can't
find
sleep in your
someone
bed,
else.
yeah, I'll go find a new family. He was like, he looked offended, and I am pretty sure that he hatefully like left the house. But we're in an area where there's coyotes and large birds and everything else. And to be perfectly candid, a lot of people with outdoor type of animals, not so much indoor. I went looking for him at midnight. I couldn't find him, just like I had that nightmare. And I looked at my phone, and I had already missed like several calls and messages. Someone had him, and they took him inside because they were also worried.
Aww.
Even though their dogs are outdoor dogs, they said he was too small. So I brought him inside. I mean, I just felt like I dodged a bullet. And I also thought he was so new to us that I thought, oh my God, what if I didn't update that tag and put a good collar on him? I look every single time now. Sometimes I even put 2 tags on. Sometimes I'm a little crazy about it now, but that was very scary. Yeah, that was very scary. Also, the car situation, you need a reliable vehicle. If that means you have to rent one, then that's what you have to do. I suggest go and get an oil change, because they will also check your tire pressure. They will also check your windshield wipers, which I know sounds very strange, but if you live in Arizona, your windshield wipers shred in the desert heat and you don't even know it. And then if you are all of a sudden in Oregon and it's pouring rain and you're using your windshield wipers for the first time in months, and all this plastic just shreds on your windshield, and you're on the freeway with your 7 dogs and you can't see,
It's not ideal.
You would have wished you had those looked at. Yeah. Sure, Tara's spoken like somebody who has
had that experience. Yeah.
I've kind of had, like, it wasn't really exactly that. I had that experience on my own, but I pictured myself with the 7 dogs in the car having a meltdown. If you are having to drive across one of those freeways that goes for hours and hours, and you don't have great reception, and you don't have a backup plan if your car breaks down, there are Mister systems that you can charge. There are charging or plug-in like battery packs for camping. I would suggest having one fully charged with water, with frozen bottles of water, and AAA. It's honestly so cheap compared to what you can get. Somebody will come and save you. Somebody will come and save you. Because I don't know, what else would you do? Call 911?
Yeah.
Tell them you're having a heart attack and you need to put your dogs in.
If it was hot enough, maybe.
I mean, seriously, I probably would.
Yeah. So if a listener is not able to afford AAA on the regular, check with your insurance. I know my insurance has, I like put on for like $1 a month.
My car insurance, assistance. That's what I do too, because it's cheaper annually.
Yeah. And they are on it.
And make yourself some friends along the way and let them know what you're doing. Hey, are you going to be home? You're the closest friend to me at this position. Like, if I get into some trouble, can you help me because I'm traveling with all the dogs. I've also done that. I do phone a friend all the time.
I drove a Survivor from this 367, actually, dogfighting vest from Jacksonville to Arizona by myself years ago.
Mm.
And I had plotted out friends along the way
Yeah.
to
Yes.
meet up with. My one friend actually, because it was last minute, the dog's transport just became available, and I was like, I'll drive her. So it was sort of last minute, and I called my friend in Louisiana. Literally, I'm driving in the car. I'm like, hey, I got an old lady pit bull in my car, and I'm just wondering if I can stop and let her go potty on your front lawn. I
Yes.
was like, I need nothing else from you. And she was like, of course. I hadn't seen her in like 10 years. And she was like,
Yes.
sure.
That is me. That is what I do. I also
Yep.
make friends online that I've never met, and I definitely have no stranger danger and just stop randomly at people's houses.
Okay, you're braver than I am. I usually pick people that I already know, but fair enough.
Oh, I have no shame in my game. I don't know. Nothing bad's happened yet.
She's also traveling with 7 dogs, so I feel like you're relatively safe.
Yeah, I was traveling with a 25-year-old pit bull who was like, all rickety, and yeah, she was
That dog
not
is not
helping
going to
me.
help you.
No. It's really funny that you bring up maintaining your car, because we're going on a trip and I literally took our vehicle for an oil change today. Got the air filter checked, got the tires done, like the whole thing. So it cracks me up
And
because
I
I'm like,
actually
oh
did that.
yes, you did it too?
Yeah, I did it right before our trip to California.
There you go.
Yeah, every
We need
time
to-
I do, and I'm I feel better. Of course, something could go wrong, of course, but I feel way more secure knowing somebody looked at my car and they didn't see anything crazy.
I feel like us living in Arizona, that we do have that fear of the heat and what it can do to our
Yes.
vehicles. So we might be a little bit more over the top about being careful.
We might be, yeah, but I've had batteries die on me
Mhm.
for like seemingly no reason, and it's just this summer is brutal.
Yeah.
I also carry the chargers, and then I have everything to change a tire, and I know how to change a tire. And guys, if you don't know how to change a tire, it's actually really easy. And also, if you're a single chick looking to try to find some dudes, go change a tire on the side of the road even if you don't need it. I swear I've gotten like so many beep beep, like, hey, do you need some help? I could have caught me a husband off the side of the street, I swear. But
Quality.
yeah, make sure you have a jack, have an extra tire that's
Yep.
good, and have the stuff to change it, and have the battery charger.
Yeah.
Important. It's important, I think. But that's like, that's kind of the boring stuff. Also, vet records. Bring them with you or have access even if you don't have Wi-Fi. I love, and no, there's going to be some people that don't agree with me, because I think that PetSmart has had some bad press about some places their grooming has a pit bull. They won't take pit bulls.
Oh, I think
I've
it's
heard
actually, it's their doggy
daycare.
daycare. Yeah.
Oh, daycare. Okay,
Yeah.
daycare. Because I was gonna say, because they actually gave me a discount on my pitties because they have
Aw.
short hair. And they're like, pitty discount day. So okay, just the daycare. So
Mhm.
that upset a lot of people to the point where they won't even go to PetSmart for anything. Inside of PetSmart is Banfield. Now, Banfield, I've been using, that's their veterinary thing there. So they have it in every single PetSmart. So now we're not just talking your local vet, we're talking state to state to state. They also have multiple plans. It's not insurance, but what it is preventative plans. Cool thing to have if you have dogs that don't really qualify for insurance. Seniors, I mean, they do qualify, but I've tried
You're
it
not-
and it didn't not work out well for us. The other thing is they can transfer all of your dog's records. If I leave Arizona and I need some help and I'm in Idaho and I go to a Banfield there, they're more likely to get me in. They're really pretty good about it. It's going to be a free visit and they're going to have everything on record. So if I'm in a panic and I can't remember anything and I don't have my stuff, they have it. I kind of recommend maybe even just popping in there to get your dog established there, so that that's an option for you if you want to travel a lot with your pet. and they have good hours.
So might be something as an option for somebody as like a backup vet, if it wasn't even what they wanted to use as a primary vet, if they do travel a lot, that they could get established at a Banfield so that if they're traveled Arizona to Pennsylvania and something happens, they can pop in and the records are all on file and it's ready to go.
Absolutely. I don't think there's a state without a PetSmart, right?
Yeah. And
I don't know of anywhere.
Does every PetSmart have a Banfield? I was trying to think.
I am almost sure.
Yeah.
I am almost positive. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've really had nothing but extremely positive, great experiences with them. Fill your gas tank frequently.
Yes.
Okay.
Like,
this is
so
a rule.
frequently.
This is a rule that I have when I travel with dogs. If you stop, everyone pees, everyone gets out and stretches their legs, and then we fill the gas tank. Everybody gets snacks. Like, you do everything every time so you just get the whole gamut done and then you move on.
Yeah, get it taken care of. I am someone who has habitually run out of gas, not with dogs, but I have.
We are kindred spirits.
Why do I do that? I don't even know. So when I travel with the dogs, I now look at my half tank mark. And I have a big van, so you could probably be a little more lenient if you have a more efficient vehicle. I look at my half tank as fill it up, just do it. So then if I'm a little late,
you're still okay.
I've got trips. So the last time I ran out of gas, it was a dog trip with no dog. I can't believe I got so lucky. There's a stretch on the I-10 that is 60 miles long, and I missed because a semi truck was in my way, missed the gas exit that I needed. And I sure did run out of gas with a 16-year-old in my car that is not my child because I don't have those. And I had to hitchhike with her and explain to her, how are we going to survive if when we hitchhike and get in someone's vehicle to drive us to this gas station, this is how you roll out of the car. I was like, don't wait until they go off on like a side road. And then you just open that door and you just tuck and roll, girl. I was like, you got this. I mean, it's so stupid. I can't believe I did that. But yeah, I did. I missed the exit.
Did you have AAA then?
No.
Oh,
but I do now.
do now.
I do now. Right after that, I got AAA.
Fair enough. And there's another
was
lesson on why you should have roadside assistance, everyone.
And I remember a trip that I went on with, luckily it was just my best friend and I, and we started to leave town and I was like, oh, I'll fill up before we leave town. And then we forgot. And so we're like probably 20 minutes outside of town. And I was like, hey, I know there's a gas station up here. Can we just make sure I just want to make sure how far it is. I would say it was within like 50 miles and my gas gauge said I had 85 miles. So plenty. And I said, I don't know why, but I'm just uncomfortable with this. Do you mind if we drive 20 minutes back to town and like get gas and like go again? I'm so sorry. She was like, it's fine. Better safe than sorry. That gas station was closed because it was during the pandemic.
No.
It would have been 120 miles to the next gas station.
That's some gut. That is some gut.
So fill up often. I like that.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And that gas station for me, I missed it. Like I couldn't get over to get off. I knew it was going to be a problem. I didn't know it was going to be that bad. Also, I did turn around, but my miles said I had enough to make it to the gas station and we still put it out 5 miles early. So can't trust that thing.
Never trust that because you never know when they're going to malfunction. So I do not, I don't like that thing. We don't want to push that too far, especially when we have 16-year-olds or dogs in the car.
Yeah. I told her, you can tell your mom, I'm not asking you to lie, but if you do tell her, she's probably never going to let you hang out with me again. So you make your decision what you want to do.
That's so funny.
But if your mom doesn't ask, maybe don't tell.
It's up to you, girl. I'm not asking you to do anything that makes you uncomfortable, but
that's so funny.
For safety, I do believe I have one more, and I think this is also very important, and this also goes with keeping your Airbnbs tidy and everything, is having like a really nice first aid kit for your dogs.
Yes.
They do the dumbest shit. while they're traveling, they all of a sudden start bleeding from a toenail, bleeding from a little, blister on their leg, and my Lord, can't tell you how many mistakes I have made with like ruining sheets and stuff like that. Just for like, they're always bleeding. I don't know what is the deal. They're not doing it here. As soon as we leave, somebody is bleeding from somewhere. So we have Band-Aids, we have wound care cleansing stuff. So if you don't know my work background, I was in healthcare for 22 years and an emergency room technician. I know a thing or two about wound care. It can honestly even be an empty syringe that you take. It's about volume and pressure. So if you have an open wound, you are going to want to squirt that water into it. I have a pressurized wound cleansing, like almost like a gun. I just get it off Amazon. I have a splint roll in case somebody has broken something. I hope that never happens because but Ace wrap and Coban is another wrap that sticks on itself, and you can do a compression to get things to stop bleeding. You want to do compression and like a ton of antibiotic ointment. My other favorite is the quick stop.
Yep,
So like
quick.
if you cut a dog's nail too short, they can bleed from their quick and it will not stop. And unless you have this powder and you dip their toes in it. So I have elderly dogs that when they're getting all this exercise that they're not normally getting, they do sometimes drag their back feet a bit. And so I have to have dog boots, even if I don't think I'm needing them or expecting to need them, and the quick stop, because I have had dogs walk so much and scrape their nails so much on the sidewalk that it's like a bloodbath that won't quit. And I just pluck their paw right in there, problem solved.
Yeah. The first time that we ever stayed at an Airbnb with all of our dogs, Remy was still with us, who was our one pity, and she cut the inside of her cheek on a marrow bone. They were out on the deck, and all I knew was that there was blood everywhere, and I didn't know where it was coming from. And you know how it is when you have multiple dogs. We had 4 dogs with us. So you got 4 dogs and you're like running around trying to pick up feet, look at tails, like who's bleeding? Where's it coming from? And I'm like going through every dog trying to figure it out. All of a sudden I realize it's the white on her mouth and her chest was red. And I'm like, what happened here? She had somehow cut inside her mouth, and we had to figure out. And oh my gosh, when I realized how much blood was everywhere, I was like, I take towels and blankets when I go travel with dogs, so I was able to clean it up. But I agree, I mean, some kind of first aid situation and extra towels, you're never going to go wrong.
Yeah, if you don't have it, that's when something goes down.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So those are like my kind of more boring safety things.
Safety is always good.
I think the other thing that's important for me is the Airbnb cleanliness per se. I truly feel that the reason I'm able to travel with so many dogs so often is because I have 42 pristine ratings on Airbnb.
Yep.
Trust me, I have had incidences. So it comes down to communicating with your host and letting them know what happened. If something did break or something out of the ordinary happened, communicate with them right away. But I also do a ton of prep before I even let the dogs in. And I'm talking, I have made this mistake so many times and I am done with it now. It's the bedding, because they sleep in the bed with. So even if they're not allowed or go on the furniture or sleep in the beds, I'm not stopping them. There's no way. Like literally impossible. Yes. It is impossible. So if you think that you let your dogs on furniture and in bed at home and that you're going to stop them from doing it at a rental, you are incorrect. So the best thing that you can do is, what I do is roll up every carpet. And if it's way too big to roll up, then I cover it with something waterproof. And I found something really good on Amazon. And, I love this conversation. So I will make something on my Instagram that people can go to in the highlights that has literally everything we're talking about on here.
Awesome.
So that you can find the links to purchase them yourself or see what I'm talking about. Kind of a waterproof blanket situation. I have a ton of them. I cover the entirety of the couch, the entirety of the rugs that I can't move. I take a photo of the Airbnb before I move anything because they want that place left how it came. They don't want it in shambles.
Rearranged.
I take every cushion and every pillow that I possibly can and I hide it somewhere up where they cannot reach it. I take the entire bed apart and I put all my own linens on it. And
Oh, wow.
oh yeah, that's the one I highly recommend the
That's
most.
the
because
ticket.
That's the one I have regretted every single time when I didn't do a full bed change, including comforter. Not only that, I would maybe take one of those waterproof. They're not even crunchy or anything.
pee
They
pad.
literally feel like a
Mattress
blanket.
pad. Yep.
Yeah, I would put it under because my dogs, some of them have hemangiomas on their legs and they will just burst and start bleeding in the middle of the night. And it goes through and hits the mattress. I've had that happen multiple times. That's a problem. So just go in, wreck that whole place, put everything away. I look around and say, if this was my home, what would I be concerned that these dogs would ruin? Even if you don't think your dogs pee inside, they might. You don't know because there's a bunch of other dogs that have been there. If you see some nice vintage records down right in that pee stream area, move them. Just do it. Everything that you could possibly think of, get it up high, away, and put it all back when you are done. And it won't even look like you were there. And I bring cleaning supplies as well. A Swiffer, a jar of countertop wipe, and a sticky roll in case there's hair somehow got on side of the furniture and stuff like that. Sticky roll that thing off. And a little bit of Febreze, but don't overdo it, y'all, because they can tell.
Okay.
Don't overdo it.
We do not go to the lengths that you go, but we are also not traveling with 7 dogs. So we travel with our 2 dogs often. We stay at Airbnbs. We also have excellent reviews. Now, in our case, our dogs sleep in their crates because we're the devil. So we have travel crates that we take with us. So we don't have to worry about the linen situation on the bed. But I am right there with you. When we get to the Airbnb, our dogs are in their crates in the car waiting. We unpack everything. And then I take sheets that I have as my travel sheets. Everything, the sofas, all the chairs, everything gets covered. I look at the pillows, determine if I think they're a problem or not, make a decision. I also carry with me in my travel stuff belly bands because I have 2 boys. And you can buy disposable belly bands or you can buy washable. I have both. You can buy them anywhere on Amazon, anywhere for any size dog. I have those in case because one time we went to an Airbnb that was not the cleanest. And definitely another dog had peed there. And my boy walked up and was like, "Rrr." And I was like, what are you doing? So belly bands.
Yes.
It's something I have in case, but I do the exact same thing as you. I just go through and I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? I do not clean before I leave, but I absolutely make sure that it's not in excess. And like I said, I only have 2 dogs versus your 7. So I completely get where you're coming from with the steps you're doing.
Yeah. The things I'm talking about we're talking multiple dogs. We're talking crusty, dusty, bleeding, drooling, stinky senior dogs.
Seniors,
sometimes they'll just be walking and a turd rolls out. Like you don't even know what's going to happen. Every day's an adventure. And it was on my list, although I do call it wean slings.
Oh yeah.
I call them wean slings. And for those of you that don't know what that is, a belly band or a wean sling, as I coin it, is it's a diaper for a boy dog.
Yes.
And it just simply goes around their ween. And I don't know, I only have the washable ones. So it has
Velcro.
a Velcro at the top. And so if they lift their leg and pee, they pee on themselves.
And
not the furniture.
It works really well. And the disposable ones the disposable ones are basically like disposable diapers. They just have like the adhesive. It's the same exact idea. But belly bands are amazing in a scenario like this.
Yes. And if I didn't mention, if you don't know me and my pack, I have all boys. All.
I don't think I
didn't know that.
Oh, yeah.
Is that on purpose?
I don't know. It just happens.
Okay.
And then the only female dog that I have had, besides Foster's, since we started adopting seniors has been Mia. only girl, the
Okay.
only
Yeah.
one. They have all been boys. We definitely bring the wean slings. You just don't know. They're
Nope.
different at your home than they are when they travel. They might be better and they might be worse.
Mhm.
So
Well,
it's best to prepare.
yeah, and I mean,
For
to
the
pack a
worst.
couple belly bands, it doesn't take any
Oh
space.
no.
So,
Oh
I
no.
mean,
It's
you
nothing.
just stick those things in with your luggage and you're on
Yeah.
your way.
Yeah. And if you're lucky enough to have a washer and dryer in your Airbnb, even better. If you don't, you can still couple Ziploc bag and save it for later. But yeah. Another thing, as far as the PP problems go, there is something that we tried out when we had some dogs that were so old that they couldn't necessarily make it outside.
Mhm.
Either our Airbnb did not have a yard, which I try not to do, but some places nobody has a yard,
Yeah.
or you have to keep the door shut at night because there's wildlife in that area that could just creep in. I
Yes.
leave my door open here in Arizona. I'm not concerned about anybody creeping in here. But when you're up in the woods and there's bears and there's coyotes, or
Elk,
there's like elk, or the big
Javelina.
cats, yeah,
raccoons.
Oh, yeah.
anything. Oh yeah, and the raccoons will come and snack on the dog food and stuff. You can't just leave your door open, and some dogs cannot hold it all night. So I love this brand, and by the way, I'm going to be plugging people on this, and nobody's paying me.
We're not
Just so
sponsored.
you know. We're not sponsored. Hashtag non-sponsored ad. There is a company called Fresh Patch, and they will ship you in the mail a tray and a fresh piece of sod grass. So
Get out.
yeah,
Get
I
out
love
of
it.
town.
and crazy enough, every time we used it here, which I've used it in my own bathroom when we had to quarantine dogs straight out of the shelter, when there was like distemper outbreaks and stuff. And we've used it when like great grandpa Chevy got really old or whatever. They all like immediately use it. I did not have to train anyone. I'm not promising you that you wouldn't have to train your dog to use it, but immediately they were like, cool, grass, I'm going to pee on this. We travel with it. Take it with.
That's amazing.
Cheers.
That's
Yeah.
so smart.
And the real grass soaks up every
Yeah.
scent of it, until of course it's like well overused, but you can just chuck it on your way home. It was an easy thing to travel with, and it was a lifesaver at those types of places when we were trying to take 16 and 15-year-old dogs that couldn't hold their pee all night, but we couldn't let them outside.
Yeah. Makes sense
Yeah.
to me. That's an awesome tip.
Oh, and let me do another plug too. As far as dog hair stuff goes, y'all, I'm sure you know Tooth and Honey. Yes?
Oh, heck yeah.
Yeah.
We love Allie.
oh,
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 yeah.
So I, for years, shopped at PetSmart and stuff, trying to get clothing to fit the larger dogs. And the reason I was doing it at that point was really more to help them get adopted, like to have something help
So they're cute.
make them stick out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Later on, I really needed it because we were traveling to places where they were cold. And I have all these big dogs. And then I noticed that a big time perk was there is so much less dog hair. It's all coming off onto the
Oh.
shirt.
Mhm.
In addition to that, Tooth and Honey has just come out with UV protective clothing.
Oh,
And
I
No
love it.
Frankenbeans,
way.
yeah, my dog Frankenbeans is the only one that really needs like sunscreen and UV protection. And yearly he has to have hemangiomas removed and everything. Of course, he's the one that wants to be out in the sun all day, and he's got a pink belly and a white face. And yeah, I mean, it's beautiful. Not only does it keep the dog hair up, it protects him from the sun. And in addition to that, Frankenbeans is the biggest blockhead of them all. And when I throw a shirt on him, people go from being unsure about him to like, can I pet your dog? Oh my gosh, he's the
Suddenly.
cutest I've ever seen. Unbelievable. It's like it's an immediate like welcoming. Oh, this dog is in a pineapple shirt. He must be the greatest.
Yeah,
Nobody.
absolutely. Lucy has her Tooth and Honey unicorn shirt
Yep.
with the little turtleneck, and literally people are like, "Oh my god, your dog is the cutest thing I've ever seen."
Tater has
And
done a
without
photo.
that,
Yeah.
it's like, oh,
And
you
the
have
pearls.
a pimple, huh?
And the
Yeah.
pearls. Lucy gets her
And
pearls.
she does have
Oh,
pearls
yeah.
too.
Yeah. Tater did a photo shoot in the rubber ducky Tooth and Honey fit. So yes, we are big fans of
Yes.
Allie at Tooth and Honey. She's very
Yes.
generous as well.
And
so
she very much gives back to rescues, which we love, and shelters, which we love.
she
And
just
her,
sponsored a spay and neuter clinic here in Arizona for the nonprofit that I co-founded. So yep, she's amazing.
yep, I have such a collection. It is unbelievable. And every
Oh my
time one
gosh,
of my
really?
foster dogs gets adopted out, if they like shirts, like I send them with their favorite shirt.
Oh my goodness.
So your friend here might have a little bit of an issue.
You
Tooth and Honey.
you literally sponsored the entire spay and neuter clinic yourself.
Yeah, I'm talking the kind of customer service is insane.
Yes.
The one time I had a shirt, and of course it was Frank. You guys, Frank. He is Frank the Tank for a reason. He goes out and he rolls around in this shirt and like rips it day one. I couldn't believe it. I have never had that happen with all of the other dogs and all of the history. He just shows up and he muscled out, broed out in it, and it ripped like Jersey Shore, like the Hulk.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I told her, and I was not even complaining. I was just like, I cannot believe this freaking dog. And like 2 days later in the mail, I had a new shirt.
Aw.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, she's
Yeah,
awesome.
and I will say I bought probably 6 things from PetSmart and different places and Amazon trying to get something that fit. I finally just was like, I have
Nope.
spent 3 times as much.
Yes.
And I
Yep,
should have just
yep.
gone to Tooth and Honey originally.
Yep.
And it's her Tooth and Honey stuff that fits.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
Yep.
I mean, she still hates being dressed up, but
But then she looks adorable in unicorns. So
she does.
do you have more tips, Tara?
I do have a tip for, as we were speaking before on potty breaks and sometimes stopping at friends' houses. This is the first time this recent trip where I had to travel with a lot of the dogs on my own. So my husband came with me, and I call him McLovin, you guys. So if you hear me say McLovin, he's not a dog. That's my husband. So McLovin had to like fly back home to go to work. So the majority of the trip, I was actually by myself with 4 dogs, which was trying to say the least. I started having a little panic on the way from San Francisco down to Venice Beach, because Venice Beach, the parking can be a little shady. And I knew they could hold their pee, but I was also afraid if they all had to go to the bathroom really bad, that they were going to like rush me out of the door of the van, and like I was going to drop somebody's leash and it was going to be chaos. And I was going to be panicking about finding a spot because I knew by then they would all have to go. So what I did was I found a sniff spot. Are you familiar?
Yes, we love
Yes.
Sniff
Okay.
Spot.
Big
I
fan.
found a sniff spot. You can find them on social media, but they have an app. Okay.
Yep.
So you go on their app and you get yourself a little account, and anywhere that you might be traveling, there are people that are renting out their yards, and you can make sure before you rent it that it is like, if you have a reactive dog like myself, you want to make sure there's not other dogs or cats or something that are
Visible.
visible. Yeah. So they'll give you the rundown. They'll tell you if it's enclosed, not enclosed, how high are the fences. You find the right place for you. But we were able to pull over and 3 miles only off of the freeway. And I was able to use someone's totally private 6-foot wall backyard and take all 4 of the dogs and let them do their biz and take off. And that cost me $25,
Yep. Sniff
which was
Spot's
worth it to
amazing.
me. Yeah. So that was something I had been thinking about doing on trips since I found out about Sniff Spot. And this was the first time that I actually did it. And I thought it was a good investment, because
Yeah.
if you've ever tried to take 7 dogs out of one vehicle at one time at a gas station or at a rest stop,
Pandemonium.
it is pandemonium. And I will be the first to tell you that my dogs are not the most well behaved per se. Like I couldn't tell them, hey, sit and stay. And the reason being is I adopt them when they're older. So like, I guess I could try to train them, but like, how realistic is that?
You're just giving them
We're
their
doing
best
a-
life, Tara.
we're-
Yeah.
We're doing a
Yeah.
constant turnover. So my faults are, yes, I would open a door and all 7 dogs pile out at the same time, and pandemonium, yes. And I have had instances where I was a little terrified that I was going to lose grip on one of them or whatever. Sniff Spot would solve all of those problems for you, I
Mhm.
believe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sniff
It's a
Spot's
very-
great.
good use of it.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
have some locally too.
Yeah.
It's an app that's across the country, and
It's getting more popular.
it's getting more
Yeah.
popular.
Yeah. And I really hope that at the church here, I live in a church. So I have that side yard, that we did the bonfires.
Yes,
I feel like that could be a sniff spot, but I need to fix it
absolutely.
first. And it would be
Yeah.
so fun.
And I was
Um,
thinking too, even traveling in Arizona, Heather and I ran into this where we stopped at a gas station. We started
Oh.
early in the morning. It was not hot when we started, but by the time we got back to Phoenix, I needed to stop for gas and my dog could use a bathroom break. And she's an old lady. And we pulled off to the side, but it was already 100
Too hot.
degrees out.
Mhm.
And so I tried to find like the coolest spot, but there were no cool spots. And
Yep.
she wouldn't go to the bathroom because the sand was too hot. So I carried her
Yeah.
back. And then we still had like 2.5 hours left
Mhm.
to get
Yeah.
home. And she was like whining and pacing. And I was like, there's nothing I can do.
We were
Yeah.
like,
Terrible
we
feeling.
should have had the booties with us, but you don't,
Yeah, we
it's
should
hard
have,
to think
but
about every single little thing.
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I know. I try to bring the boots now too, but honestly, I had the
And not
same
everybody
thing
will
happen
wear
to me
them.
not that long ago. Also that, you're totally
Yeah.
right.
Not everybody will
can
wear them.
those.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I did have that happen to me recently, and it was Albus, and he did go out and he did potty, but I was running as fast as I could to the spot that wasn't the concrete. I felt so bad. You have
Yeah.
those moments where you're just doing your best.
Yes.
You're gonna mess up, man.
Yep.
If you do anything with your dogs, you're gonna mess things up. It's okay, but I've made so many mistakes. That's why I was so excited to talk to you too, and hopefully help other people too that
Yeah.
are nervous about doing it, traveling, because I know other people have reached out to me and they told me they did start traveling with their dogs because of watching us,
Oh, I
and that
love
it really
that.
changed their lives as well. And then they would send me family photos out in these awesome places. And it really was something that became not just important to me, but like important for me to share what a big deal it is to people and their dogs to be able to do
Mhm.
that,
Yeah.
So I love this. I do have just one more little small list if you're interested.
Yes,
Bring
of
it.
course.
Okay. I know I'm like I'm hitting like over an hour mark here.
Look,
That's okay.
it's fine. Don't worry about
Okay.
it.
I would assume that some people are going to want to do mostly camping type of stuff with their dogs, like
Not
outdoor,
but you go
right?
for it.
Right. I've done both. So I've done hotels rarely, mostly in super dog friendly places like San Diego. They'll have super dog friendly motels and you can walk almost right to Dog Beach. I mostly do Airbnbs, but there's cons to that because you are in someone's home and if you have my type of crew, the risk is high that something is going to break or get ruined, or there's a lot of work involved in that. A lot of people are mostly ones that are going to want to take their dogs out to camping type of spots, woods, whatever. And with a dog reactive dog, I found recently a really cool site that is set up almost exactly like Airbnb, but it is for outdoor spaces. And it is called Hip Camp. Like I'm hip, like
Ooh.
HIP, HIP camp.
And we can
And
link it. We can link it in the show notes too.
yeah, okay, yeah, perfect. Hip Camp, they let you rent private, also public camping type of spots. But if you look for a private one on someone's property, it'll let you know what you will see there, if there's other campers there. We've rented multiple places where we never saw another human being. And you get the camping experience without having people running into your campsite, dogs off leash running into your campsite, none of that stress. Really affordable, way more affordable than Airbnb. We usually just sleep in our van, but lots of them you can pitch a tent, or some of them they even have tiny homes or something that you can stay in. A lot of them have private river or lake access.
Oh, wow.
I am loving
Yeah,
that.
I am telling you, if you have a dog that is needing extra space and can't have dogs running up on them, look into Hip Camp and reach out to a host and ask them, hey, I have a dog. Are there going to be other ones here? We have found so many. It's amazing. But I would highly recommend for camping type of situations, light up collars. There's
Yes.
blinky light up tags, long leads,
Mm-hmm.
bear spray or mace if you need it. Because listen, I have never in my life maced a dog, and nor do I want to. But if it comes down to there's going to be a brawl situation, I will do what I have to do. And that's the best thing I can come up with that would be temporary, not permanent,
Mm-hmm.
to deal with that situation. So I carry it on me. Zip line tie outs work for some dogs. It didn't really work for my bougie bunch, but I thought it was my mind. It was like a great idea. Baby gates. And
Yes.
you can make those into like a giant pen. And if you live in Arizona, hit up Nellis Auction. Nellis Auction has all these returns from like Amazon or big warehouses, and they auction them off weekly. You have to go pick them up within a week if you have the winning bid. They do it every day. The bids end around 6 or 7 p.m. I have gotten so much amazing stuff from Nellis Auction for dirt cheap, and baby gates, dime a dozen. I think I got 20 baby gates for like $10 and was able to make a giant camp area to enclose them since my zip line didn't work. And babes, life jackets.
Yes.
Just get them. They're also on Nellis Auction, but you don't know what you're dealing with. Dogs are dummies too. They think they're going to go be like a professional Michael Phelps over here. And then they're like, bop, bop, down to the bottom. Like,
oh no, I don't swim.
And if you have multiple dogs like me, then you can't keep track of everybody. So you might as well just throw everybody in a life jacket. Not to mention, it's cute. Anyhow, it's good for photos. Grab yourself a nice dog treat fanny pack in case you have to entice your dog back, in case they somehow wander off or get off of their lead or something happens and you have to entice them. There are fanny packs with really nice lining that you can put high quality treats in there. It'll hold your dog poop bags, and it'll hold your phone, and it'll hold your chapstick or whatever you need out there. And just throw that on your hip. And that's my suggestion for camping, including bento bowls. They have dog food bento bowls. So when I'm out there, if I have all these dog bowls with their jowl slime and everything on them, the bugs start to crawl in. Bento bowls, you can just snap each dog bowl together, and they have those on Amazon as well. And listen, guys, I've never used this in my life, but have you ever seen the porcupine jackets for small dogs?
I have a friend. I have a friend who has one for her Chihuahua.
Oh my God. Yeah. I might have to get that if I take Bubs.
If you take Bubs,
yeah. Those are pretty cool. So they have like spikes sticking up like a porcupine, so an owl or a hawk is not going to come down and just swoop them.
Have you not seen them, Christy?
No, I'm saying yes.
I really want to I won't camp because that's not a thing for me, but also I might have to set that aside to take Tiago out into the wilderness somewhere, because this dog loves to be in the wilderness like nothing else. And that just sounds dreamy to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Amazing.
And I will say, if you are going to take long lines out for your dogs, 100% suggest you practice before you get in the woods. Because that can be a bit of a mess.
With multiple dogs, it's worse.
Yeah. And honestly, it's just getting used to it and practicing. Practice makes perfect. But even now, I often have Lucy on a long line. And I know sometimes Heather will have her dog on a long line, Tiago or Tater. And even now, even with practice, I still end up crossed with Heather and like around legs. And so just practice so you know what your dog's like on the long line.
Even if you find somewhere that, I did find a couple of places where I rented a private Airbnb or hip camp where we had a piece of river that the dogs could really be off leash. I rarely let my dogs off leash, and it took me a couple days to even be comfortable to do it, but no one was there, and they owned 8 acres and on the corner. So once I felt comfortable, I did let them off leash, but it's really nice to have the lines with you.
Yes.
You don't know. I mean, you can't guarantee what's going to happen. So
I'm a huge fan of biothane long lines, which you can get pretty much anywhere. I love them because if they get dirty and disgusting, you can just wash them off. They're super easy. They're waterproof. The 10-foot biothane line, I think I've had for 6 years now, and it's just indestructible. Now I have two 30-foots and they're in bright colors, so they're easy to see if your dog's trailing it. Tiago, in certain instances, is allowed to be off leash. Tater would never be allowed because he can get spooked and he'll run.
Mm-hmm.
But there are scenarios where you need to use that long line. And I just love the biothane because it's easy to take in any situation, no matter what happens, and it's not going to be ruined or damaged. And it's easier when they get tangled to untangle the biothane than it is to do with a standard leash.
Yeah, for sure. I just got one of those leashes, so I
Ooh.
know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah. And
Fancy.
I usually have multiple things on them. I'm not a fan of harnesses for some reason. I'm a slip lead gal, but on these kinds of trips where we're out in the woods, I do a harness with a loop. I don't know what they're called. You just clip it on it. There's no leash. It's a handle almost. So a clip-on handle. So if we're doing off leash per se, then at least I have a handle.
Same.
If they're slipping or they're getting into some chaos or something.
Yeah.
Then I have their regular size leash for walking them back, and then I have the long line for other scenarios. But yeah, I carry a lot with me.
Sounds very similar to the setup that Christy and I use. Tiago, if it's somewhere where we're going that he might be off leash, he has a basic harness. It's like not to hold him back. It's a very simple rough wear harness just to be able to clip his long line too if I need to connect him to me for some reason. And then he also always wears his collar. And then I have his regular standard leash in my fanny pack to be able to clip him if he needs to be close to me for some reason or I need to swap him out. So yeah, all the different things to be able to have all the tools.
Yeah, absolutely. Every scenario. She is ready. The backpack full of things. And I've never used it before, but I did think about this when I knew you would be speaking with me. I thought maybe even a bell. I don't know. If you
Tiago
have a
has
lot
bells.
of dogs out in you do use a bell?
He has two jingle bells on his, it's the harness he wears for off leash time. He has bells on, and I've honestly just been using it even if I take him on long line anywhere that we're in wilderness, because we go up to pine and things and there's elk around. It just makes me feel better. And I feel like it's being respectful of the wildlife at the same time. Hey, we're coming. You know, if you want to move on, go ahead.
Run away.
Run away.
I didn't even think about that. Like,
and
hey,
so,
warning.
it's like, hey, we're coming. So I actually put the bells on there last year and I never took them off. So yes.
Yeah. That's cool. I'm glad to hear you use that because it came to mind, but I've never done it. Another thing that came to mind that I've never used, but probably should, is GPS. There's companies that do GPS collars now. So,
and there's different benefits and to GPS. Obviously, when you have 7 dogs, it's could be cost prohibitive.
Sure.
And
I don't have it.
But there are absolutely excellent GPS collars out there. And I know Christy and I have friends who have dogs that wear GPS collars even at home because they've had a dog that they lost and kind of traumatized from that. So it's definitely possibilities.
And the nice thing is nowadays they have GPS that you can have a handheld device that it reports back to you immediately. So it's not like you have to go and log in or you have to wait for somebody to find your dog. You're like, why is my dog not coming back? Oh, it's around the corner. Oh, look, it found an elk body or something. It's rolling in it. Great.
And I don't get super concerned about it because I very, very rarely, like I said, have my dogs off leash. I will never ruin somebody else's day by having one of my dogs off leash because they have a reactive dog. I will be very sure I'm in a very secure area before I ever do anything like that. But of course, if like deer goes by and one of your dogs takes off and you just don't know. So I think it's not a bad thing to think about. My older guys, I can catch most of them, but not all of them.
Safety first. So if you can outrun your dog, don't worry about a GPS.
Right. Right.
Bye.
Exactly.
So one additional thing
I don't have like a lot of more tips, but if you want me to end this off on
I think
a,
Christy has something.
oh,
Oh, I
please.
was just going to add one thing to that list too.
Oh,
Depending on
please.
where you're going and how hot it is, I
Mhm.
like to also bring a cooling vest because
Yes.
my dog is the worst of both worlds. She overheats so easy, but she also gets really cold. So I have to bring both her little pajamas and a cooling vest
Yeah.
no
Yeah.
matter where we go.
Something that just made me think about, because I do sports with my dogs, and dog sport peoples, we're all fanatical about keeping our vehicles cool, because a lot of times
Yeah.
we'll crate
Yeah.
our dogs at the events in our car or near our car. You can buy illuminets on Amazon. They're not expensive, and you can get an illuminet that will cover your entire vehicle if you need to. So maybe you're in a space
Ooh.
that's really sunny and you want to keep your car cool while you go and take your dogs down to the river, or whatever you might have going on, or you just have to sit your car in a really sunny spot. Those illuminets are an amazing thing to have. I also use the Ryobi battery operated fans from Home Depot, and multiple times a year they will do a crazy good deal where it's you buy one and you get a second fan and 3 battery packs for free or some craziness. And they also have misting fans by Ryobi, and they all have the interchangeable batteries. And then something else I do for Tiago, because he runs hot, is a nice cooling pad in his, because he's crated in the car, in his crate in the car. So I kind of do an all combination thing to keep him as cool as possible.
I'm so happy you said all of that. And will you please link it all?
Yes.
Because I was just having this exact discussion with someone several days ago, and she was talking about people who do exactly what you're
Sports.
talking about.
Mhm.
And all of the things you were just saying. And I was like, please let me know, because I am
Yes.
struggling all the time with this. I left my dogs for 3 hours in the van with it running so that I could help her out with networking some dogs on my way home. I was
Mhm.
honestly a little shocked. We were at Venice Beach and it was sweater weather. I got to her house only 1 hour away, and it was way hotter than I thought.
Mhm.
And even with the van running and every curtain in my van up and something blocking the windshield, it was just cool enough for them in there.
Mhm.
She told me exactly what you're saying. She just did not know the names. So, like,
Yeah.
I'm just excited that you know what it
Yeah.
is, because I was very interested
Yeah,
in
the illuminats are
that.
awesome.
Yeah.
And the other thing a lot of dog sport people will do is there are apps now that you can put a thermometer in your car, and the app is connected to your phone, and you can set it to an alert depending on the temperature, and it'll alert to your phone as long as you're within Wi-Fi or have some sort of signal, and it'll tell your phone if your car gets to a certain temperature. Obviously nothing is foolproof. We know, everybody, nothing is foolproof. But if you're in a situation where you're right by your car but you're not in it, and you want something to make sure that everybody's good and you have the car running and you're keeping it cool, that's another thing that you can do to just be a double check on the temperature. So there's a lot of stuff out there that is
Yeah.
super, super good to use.
And going back to being stranded on a
Yeah.
long desert highway, cool wind in the air, you know what I'm saying? If
Yep.
you were in that scenario, those things would be extremely helpful to
Yes.
keep your dogs alive while you're waiting for assistance. Because
100%.
as soon as that air conditioning stops, we are talking temperatures of, I would say, 130 in the car,
Yeah. What
right?
was it today? It was 107, I think, today. So
Yeah.
you're at
The
you're well
vehicle
over
had,
130.
oh yeah, instant death. And when you have vulnerable dogs, like
Mhm.
senior dogs or sick dogs or puppies or whatever, they don't even do well in bougier conditions. So, you know,
Like 90
um,
is too
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I try to avoid going to the vet or acupuncture or any of the other things that I do
Mhm.
for the dogs in the summer, because they don't do
Yep.
well just on the short trip there. They're not well. So
Yeah.
having those things with you could truly save their life if you were in some kind of road emergency and you had to wait for
Mhm.
help. Yeah. I'm so glad you know what all of those things are, because I was actually really wondering about
Yeah.
them.
Yeah. I will send you all of the things.
Beautiful. I love
What else
that.
did you have, Christy? Did we hit all the
Oh,
things?
I think we hit everything,
Yes.
right?
We are amazing.
Would you guys like
Yeah.
me to end with one story? And this story has been told on Instagram, but
You end however you like to end, Tara.
it's the most crazy story ever. Okay. Let me add to you. And of course, like I said, I've had mishaps for sure traveling with dogs. I already told you we lost Bubs. I should mention on this subject that one time Winston did get overheated because the Airbnb did not have air conditioning and a heat wave
Mm.
came through in California, and we actually had to leave a day early and stay in a friend's garage.
Oh.
I also did not have cooling vests, and I took the Tooth and Honey clothes and covered it in water and threw it in the freezer and then put it on all my dogs. But Winston was my small dog at the time, and he did not do quite as well, and he did vomit for like a whole day. Like it was
Oh.
not good. Yeah. So I've definitely had things, but the most craziest travel story I have for you. Did you guys hear about the van almost getting stolen?
No.
No? Okay. This is so good. So I visited Oakland on my way up to take them to the Redwoods or whatever. My brother lives in Oakland. So I got an Airbnb there for only 2 nights to hang out. And then he was going to continue on the rest of the trip. All 7 dogs were with me.
Oh boy.
I get an Airbnb in Oakland, and my brother said it's a little sketch over there, right? And to park, it's like getting worse every year. And he said, try and park in the parking garage. Well, my van was just a little too tall for a city parking garage, but the street was empty. It was like nothing going on, no noise anywhere, no sirens, no people. And there was a parking spot directly in front of the Airbnb that I rented. At this time, I did not have my own van. I had the van I rented every time we went on vacation for the dogs was from Arizona Canine Rescue, AZ Canine.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a travel van to get their dogs to vet appointments up in Sedona. So I would rent it out for my trips. It benefited both of us. And yeah, we parked it at about 1 a.m. directly 2 feet outside of the front door. You would think it would be safe. We knew it was a little sketch over there, so we pulled every single thing out of the van except a cooler. This cooler I had gotten off of Nellis auction, and it was the first time we used it. And you can plug it into the like cigarette lighter input thing. I don't know. I'm old, so they still had cigarette lighter things, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The car jack thing or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would charge from the car, and it would actually act like a refrigerator cooler.
Oh.
So I know we had both said out loud, we should probably not forget to unplug this thing because it might keep draining the battery while we're not using the vehicle. We don't know if it automatically would shut off or if it would keep going. So we wake up in the morning and I pile all the dogs into the car to go out to lunch. And I have a little trouble putting the key in to start the car, and the car won't start. And McLovin, my husband, starts throwing a little fit, and he says, oh my gosh, we are so dumb. We left the cooler in here plugged in and the battery is dead. I can't believe it. I can't believe this is the one thing I forgot. And then I'm looking around, I'm like, something's really weird. Why was it so hard to turn the key? And then I look down and I see a crack lighter all burnt and crispy on the seat. And I was like, that's not my lighter. And then I went around the side of the car, and a whole keyhole is completely removed.
Oh
So
no.
during the night, and there was also a weird ticket on the car that I just threw out because I was like, I don't know what this means. It's a call here. I don't even know. I didn't know what it meant, but it all made sense all of a sudden. What I realized is that somebody during the night saw that van. They wanted to live in it and take it. They busted the whole keyhole out. They tried to start the car, like hot wire it, and it didn't work because we left the cooler in and the battery was dead. And I died right there. I was like, this is the best stupid mistake we've ever made in our life. We would have had
amazing.
no van. We would have had that wasn't even our van. We would have lost the van. We would have had 7 dogs, 14 hours away from home, stranded. I mean, it could have been the worst nightmare ever. And the only reason the van didn't get stolen is because we left the freaking cooler plugged in.
I love it. That is hilarious.
Best,
story.
worst
And now-
story ever.
Yeah. And now I'm a little more careful about where I park or stay, but I also got one of those, the club.
Yeah.
I have a club now. So
We have just
Unreal.
supported 100 different businesses.
I know.
on
Can
this
somebody
podcast.
sponsor us? What's up?
Feel
hey
free.
guys, I
We're
have a
all
lot of
taking
vet bills.
sponsorships.
You could just
That's amazing.
sponsor
I love that
me.
story. That's like the
I know.
best story to end on ever.
Yeah.
I did share it as it was happening. Yeah, I had to share it again because
That's hilarious.
unreal. I still think about it almost every day.
I can understand why. That's a
Yeah.
struck of good luck and bad luck all rolled up into one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Minimal damage to the van and maximal good stuff on our
Phew.
life. Like good karma came
Yep.
through, hooked us right up on that one because I don't know what I would have done.
Oh
I
my
really don't.
gosh.
No.
I had no backup plan for that one, guys.
I so appreciate you being willing to come on and talk with us
Yes.
and spend this time with us because your experiences are awesome and your tips I know are going to be so incredible for people who want to travel with their dogs. And I love that you're already inspiring people to get out with their dogs. So that's amazing.
Yeah, I hope this really does inspire people. If I could get one thing out of this, it would be just if one person went and thought, let me give it a shot, because the things that your dogs can do are amazing. Don't set yourself up in a bubble of what they may or may not like or what they can and can't do. Just take notes as it's happening, you know?
Yeah.
Let them lead and you will be on an adventure that you never thought possible.
Aww.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
if people want to find you, where can they find you at?
So really, I have multiple social medias, but if you really want to find me, do Instagram, and it's at Tara's Fosters AZ, and my name is spelled TARA, add the S, Fosters as in foster dogs, AZ as in Arizona.
awesome.
And I am pretty responsive there. I have Facebook and TikTok and all that too, but I am on Instagram all the time. And if you don't have Instagram and you really want to ask me a question or get any input from me or whatever, you can email me. It's tarasfostersaz@yahoo.com.
Awesome.
And I'm down to talk dog all day long. So I'll talk shop.
Tara is an amazing resource. So
Yeah.
we'll tag you on Instagram when we drop the episode as well. So people will see that.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank
And
you
everything
so
that we
much.
mentioned that I know today, I will put into a highlight reel over the next day so that you can find links on Amazon or find, Fresh Patch or Tooth and Honey or Hip Camp or whatever. And I know you're going to link the ones that you mentioned for keeping your vehicle cool, because I'm very interested in that.
I'll put all of them in the show notes so then people have them right with the episode and they can have it all right there together, which would be awesome.
Yeah, I have a few great things off of Amazon too that I didn't even mention, just like a spill-proof dog bowl or things that have helped really, that I haven't tossed to the side after the first trip, that I use again and again and again. And they're so helpful. So I'll send you everything for sure.
All right. So I think we'll leave it there. We are dropping new episodes every other Thursday. Thank you so much, Tara, for talking with us.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
And come visit us over on Instagram at Sometimes There's Side Eye and interact with us. And if you like this episode, feel free to subscribe, share, and rate us on the platform of your choosing.
Yay. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.